What's up, everybody? I'm Yogi Chris. This is Enlightened Masculinity, and I'm bringing you another recycled episode from Science of Peace. I recycled 8 episodes from this other podcast show that I had that had over 100 episodes, and I'm giving you the best 8 episodes because I deleted that channel. And this next one was pretty good. It got substantial views. It's one of the better episodes, I thought, listening to it. And it goes through a lot of topics. It's a little bit longer episode, so if you don't like long podcasts, then maybe you skip this one. But it goes into self-talk and how that relates with talking to the outside, talking with other people, how your external communication is so related to your internal communication and vice versa, and how a yoga practice can help you get tapped in and tuned in and hearing exactly how you're talking to yourself and how that's related to how you're communicating with the world. I go through it in many different angles. It's a very good episode, so I hope you enjoy. And when you hear Science of Peace referred to throughout the episode, that's because it was an episode for Science of Peace. But this is, in fact, Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. What's up, everybody? I'm Yogi Chris, PhD, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga. I was just talking about Ninth Limb Yoga, always related to this podcast. This is Science of Peace, so you can find it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, my yoga YouTube, The Ninth Limb. And you should subscribe. Click any of the links there. It takes you to how to get involved with other stuff I do. So this show has always been dedicated to the lessons learned or the understandings gained from a yoga practice. And that's what this podcast theme is. It's always me doing all of the podcasts. And so they're linked through my mind. But I'm giving you a face of who I am, what I do. Anybody that would want to understand me or how to communicate with me would watch my podcast. There's 450 podcast episodes posted. So that becomes a repository and something very useful. If someone has a question, boom, here's this episode. I explained it here, there, whatever. YouTube is a similar way. So this show, boundaries, how to establish boundaries and respect. It's something that you learn both internally and externally, meaning how do I treat myself when I'm by myself, like my teacher has taught me, when it's just you and your God? How are you? What are you like when it's just you and yourself? And that's where a lot of the yoga tech is so powerful. How you treat yourself. It's just so obvious that you treat the world and your life how you've been treating yourself. You'll recognize patterns of how you talk to yourself and how you think about yourself. And you'll recognize how that matches up with what you've treated somebody else as or what you've done to somebody else. You'll see the linkage in energy. It's difficult to describe, but it will naturally happen because your mind, the subconscious, naturally recognizes patterns. That's what it's supposed to do. That's why you get so wide-eyed in new environments, but go somewhere that you've been a lot and you're familiar with it. 10 steps, it's there, it's 10 steps down, and there'll be a left corner right there, and whatever. You'll recognize when something stands out, it's new because everything else has been patterned. But you go somewhere new, everything is new. So when you have a repetitive, disciplined practice, the beasting routine does this too. A lot of the potency of the beasting routine I had already discovered in yoga, but yoga is so docile, so calming, so tension relieving that after 9 years, I barely had any tension left, and I had lost an ability consciously, because I didn't physically lose the ability. Apparently it was still right there, just right under the surface, which was cool. But I was also only 34 or 33 when I started. So do I want to wait 10 more years and see if it's still right under the surface? Maybe I should just keep it up a little bit. Hence, I've been integrating more calisthenics in my yoga to tap into that exhilaration, that feeling, that like cold ice bath feeling of just survival for like a minute or two, just to remind myself I'm alive. And then I go into my yoga. And that's what my phase 2 or level 2 of the beast routine, that's what's developed. But the level 1 and the yoga practice, segment your time away from the world where you do a process that involves physicality and philosophy, and you repeat over and over daily. It's not what day of the week is it? I don't know if I'm going to work out. It's what day of the week is it? Which workout is this day of the week? Every day, it's the routine. And when you do this, it's something very interesting happens with the physiology. You're evolved to live as a diurnal being, diurnal meaning day, night. It's a biological term that we have diurnal cycles. And so like you could think of plants, they grow. If you ever seen a speed frame video of a plant, it grows during sunlight, it shrinks during nighttime. And it like respirates. It goes each day. And then each day grows a little more if it has sufficient water and everything. And that's a diurnal cycle. Animals are diurnal, right? There are some that are nocturnal, but that's their diurnal. They're backwards. And why, I forget the root of the word where urnal comes from. You can get diurnal, why it is that. And so when you have something that you put in and you do it daily, you like start to organize your consciousness and your physiology. It evolves around this repeated activity. It's like I wrestled at 3 p.m. every day for 8 years. When I stopped wrestling, a big empty feeling came over me every day at 3 p.m. for about 2 or 3 more years, probably why I went way into drugs. So I was like, that's going to fill that hole. Nah, I mean, but a lot of other probably just child psychology, whatever. But there was that feeling there. I didn't replace it sufficiently. I dropped it and then was lost. But that was the habit, and that practice wasn't a personal spiritual discipline where it was for me, where I segment myself off and I give myself that self-care. It's kind of a cheesy word or whatever, but I address myself. Like I patch myself up. Like I am not myself. I'm just looking at my vehicle body and I patch it up. And I'm looking at my mental body and I suture it here and I patch it there and I replace the starter there. And then I go out in the world and I function. And then I come back and the next day I do the same thing. Over time, your mind body recognizes the pattern. And so then you start to see, like when the new sign gets posted, oh, there's a new thing there. You start to notice, oh, there's a new ache here. Or you start to notice there's a new thought here. I'm waking up with a new kind of mood. Usually I'm more excited. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't do it every day. If you went only on the days you were excited, you wouldn't improve because anybody can do stuff when they want to. It's when you don't want to, what do you do? If don't be led by your wants, be led by your vision and your logic and your reason. And that's why men lead, because tell that to a woman, what's she going to do with her life? Yeah. Is that a good idea? She might even debate that idea, but then it's going to lead her. Her feelings will lead her and her feelings aren't her own. But my logic and reason, that might not be my own either, but it adheres to a structure of the universe that I can rest on, that we build structure on logic, not on what we want it to look like. So let's see. Boundaries and respect. So I was going somewhere with that, but I'll just pick it up with when I was touching my shoulder and I was like a little ache. I don't have a little ache there, but anywhere. I don't really have any aches, but I do. Okay. I have a little something going on my lower back, I'll complain a little bit about it. So when I do a movement, I learn my boundaries. How deep can I squat? How slow or fast should I go? What's the alignment of my bones, my legs that I should have so I don't torque my knees or my hips too much? A lot of knee-hip is related. Foot placement. Where is my cause in this? I start to respect the boundaries because I'm 34 and I've been training really, really hard physically. Let's see. When I was 12 years old, I rode a bicycle 121 miles in a day. That's the first memory of going real, real hard. After that, I think it's been going hard. And different sports, whatever. I don't need to go through it. But that's the first memory of like I pushed it and somebody looked and noticed. And I've also learned in this time, after graduating through competitive athletics into when I was 25, I picked up a yoga practice, right? Yeah. I saw how not respecting the boundaries of my body would lead to sorrow. That there was no medal to win anymore. The medal became the success in life, actually. They tried to diminish the meaning of personal success because for whatever reasons, we can psychologize it all day because they themselves didn't give themselves permission to go for success. So they suppress you so they're not wrong. It's basically, they don't want to be wrong. You make them wrong by succeeding. You make everyone who tried to succeed around you wrong when you succeed.
right? That's sick. But that's the planet. That's everybody, that's everybody. Even us, even yourselves. These are the things you discover in the personal practice is, it says my connection's unstable. Yeah, how dare you make me look bad? And then come to find out we didn't even look bad. How dare you make me look bad to myself? Other people didn't even recognize that it even happened. It was all to ourself. Right. And we're reacting to that. And that's causing real consequences that we later face because we're acting out of an emotion. Now, you keep going so much in that direction and you stop handling life because you start fearing the consequences of emotional reactions. Emotional reactions isn't the evil. It's the evil that's been done to us that skews our ability to see. That's evil. Emotions make a lot of sense in nature. There's not unreasonable emotions or that animal would die and the genes wouldn't pass on. But we're so much mental creatures, and evil has been done to us that has invalidated our feelings through coercion, which there's plenty of coercion in nature. That's all nature is, but there's no storyline given to the animals. We are taught something different than what's done to us. So we get we conflict inside. Right? So that's the evil. It's, but we still, as adult, we face our consequences of what we do. So whether I was conscious or not, I face the consequences of what I do because that's responsibility. It's kind of like a prison sentence where it's like you're given a machine, but you're not given a manual how to use it or a manual of how other people will react to you. And in fact, you're given a manual for everything else and told you have to study all this other stuff, and you're not given a chance to breathe. And then before you know it, okay, now you're responsible for yourself. Fuck. Shit. So what do we do? Well, I mean, you cry about it at night and then just take responsibility for it as much as you can daily. And you start to create more space for yourself because you can establish boundaries. You start to respect that wounded communication is going to come back and bite me if I don't respect that that's toxic. To push further into this movement would cause me injury. And there's always the pendulum effect. So maybe by avoiding something, you'll regret it later. So you lose thought over it, or you'll compensate by doing another movement more and you'll hurt yourself in another way. You'll hurt the other shoulder because you're trying to avoid that. It's an idea, but it takes practice. Just knowledge of cause and effect. That's what this is. It's a game of extracting wisdom from the ether, using your own life experience as the fuel. And you use effort and will to bring order to your life experience because the whole universe exists within you. It's just the disorder that's obscuring your vision of it all. The chaos. So moments of clarity, prolonged moments of clarity. And boundaries and respect. So let's say I'm starting a yoga practice and I notice I have a lot of energy, but as I do like a first forward stretch, I notice there's a little tight line behind my knee or something like that. It's like, that one muscle. Do I push with my energy? Because I have so much energy, the rest of my body can stretch well. How much am I going to do if I find the alignment right? I may realize that if I keep pushing through this, I may regret it tomorrow, or it may slip my mind and I forget that my knee is like that. And then I go to do a movement and then now it's a couple of weeks of just chronic, a little bit of soreness, just nagging at me because I didn't respect it. So let's say I'm entering into a communication with somebody and right off the bat, the very first communication is slightly toxic or has some frame in it that makes you worse. Like a female said to me earlier, in a voice message in the beginning, it said something like, it opened with, it was like a 20-second message. It was like, don't do that to me, Chris, blah, 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 blah. But it was more sympathetic. It's hard to be as pitiful. I'd have to go like, don't do that to me, Chris. There, see, it's like pity me, but you're wrong kind of idea. And then it goes on to say a bunch of other words. And I attacked it right away and said, get away with me and don't ever talk to me again. Long story short, I summarized like a lot of text there, but go away. Now, if you go away, I don't have enough leverage in the relationship with you to be able to correct you. Because what the opposite would be, which was knowledge of cause and effect, meaning how many times I've gone this other way or that other way, is to give more attention to solve it right there. Let me teach you right now that you're miscommunicating with me, why that's wrong. And if that was the first offense, maybe I would have done that, but it was an accumulation of going the wrong direction. So the boundary is, you're miscommunicating with me, stop it, now go away. And I got aggressive and said some harsher words. And if you're going to go away, then go away. Why? Here's some alternatives I'll give you. Let me sit on this. I receive the message. It doesn't sit well. I'll sit on this until the emotion passes. Am I going to do that every time from now until the end of life? That's going to limit how high I ascend from doing that. Now, maybe you don't need to do that for every message, but then you use a lot of short-term memory, keeping in track. Did I reply? What did I say? Like, okay. If you got a lot going on in life, you'll see that miscommunications, if they take your attention, it takes away money. It takes away energy for other endeavors. It takes away happiness. What's the exchange that's really happening here? Okay. I can go into it and say, you don't start off your voice message by just correcting. Don't start off your voice message with the tonality of like, I'm wrong and that I'm doing something wrong ethically by treating you a certain way, because that's not what's happening here. And now that I say that, that would have been pretty good if I had gone on with teachings or whatever. I could see that. I can see how moving ahead of it, looking back on it, how I would change. And who wouldn't change as you move forward, looking back on it? If you would not change your decisions, where's the growth or evolution? But what I did was proper for where I was in my evolution, which was, that's toxic. I'm not investing more attention when you mistreat. I'm scolding. When the dog comes and licks and bites at you, you don't then start petting it and say, no, don't do that, because it's getting what it wants while it nips and bites and licks at you. You say, no. Maybe you bite it with your fingers. Maybe you push it with your knee. Maybe you make it uncomfortable. You crowd its space. You submit the animal without physical submission, but through gesture and maybe a sharp finger and a sharp voice and a proud posture and a confident, certain energy, because I'm right and you're wrong. Even if you've been abused and this is the best you know how, this is right and you're wrong. And if I diminish that knowledge, if any other dogs see what I'm doing, they may mistreat me. And now I have to handle a bunch of more because you couldn't handle me. You need a weaker trainer that will allow you to get away with more so you could be more comfortable, because you want you prefer to be the way that you are. I'm not your brand of change. So, but do you adapt your brand to the type of change that to the type of dog that you want, to the type of relationships that you want? It's not an analogy that a female is a dog. It's an analogy that there's a natural code in communication between organisms, between leader and follower, between social pack animal. It's very obvious there's a genetic code to dogs because it works everywhere with all dogs, regardless of the subtype, which is like the subtype of people. People aren't different races. They're different ethnicities, part of one race. It's one species, Homo sapiens sapien. So there is a genetic code of relationship, of lead follow, of social dynamic. And that's all that it's saying. That's all the analogy is. So in the interaction, let's say there's the injury. In the interaction with the injury while you're going through your beasting routine, let's say you're doing calisthenics and you have some sore shoulder sockets because you've just been doing so many pull-ups and dips and burpees and push-ups that it's just kind of achy in that one spot, kind of in the front, sort of on the inside by the pec, kind of. It's just kind of achy. When you get warmed up or you get some coffee in you, then it's not so bad. But pretty soon it's going to maybe start burning, singeing a little bit at night before you go to sleep. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt to lay on your side. It's because of that, right? And it's very simple. It's just not, it's improper muscle activation in the right sequence. You activate the under shoulder blade muscle, the serratus anterior, and then you can withstand the load on the shoulders. You start activating your pecs right and everything. But without that, the shoulder collapses. You impinge the shoulder socket. You start using anterior deltoid and, you know, it rubs on the cartilage here. So it's a closed shoulder, basically. How do we open the shoulder while we press or while we pull other things? So by interacting with the injury or the pain, continuing my daily discipline, approaching it with the mindset of I don't want to take away from tomorrow's practice by beasting today, or by yoga practice today, I don't want to take away from my practice tomorrow. But I don't want to be a coward. How can I approach this dynamically with intelligence, without compromising future practice, without shying away, but engaging it? And you calibrate daily. How much is too much? How much thinking is too much thinking? How aware do I need to be so I don't overexert? I mean, this is the things that I need to say to myself, because I don't have a problem of underexerting. I mean, maybe some people have a problem of underexerting. How do I work hard enough? I don't have that problem. So maybe it's a different problem. I don't know. Some people, I don't imagine any of you are. I just felt like recognizing that because I feel like I'm always given the upper end of it. And that's what it is. It's how do I prevent from pushing too hard? Sometimes I'll cut into my rest period afterwards because I want to do more sets. But then I sacrifice rest and then my day is agitated. And the next day I look less forward to the work. So, you know, it's just that knowledge. And then you start to value your time so much in the measure of life units. How many life units am I giving to my half hour, to my 1 hour? And that's how you start to measure in the communications. If it takes away my energy, I have a measure for that. If it takes away my time to handle this or to conflict here, I have a measure for this. It's a spiritual measure. It's not a dollar measure. It's not a time measure so much as there's this measure of life that I lose, of vitality that I lose in this exchange, unless it's worth it. Like there's an exchange in all things, you know, like the exchange of losing a girl for miscommunicating earlier in manhood is worth it to learn the understandings later in manhood when you have more resources, more network, more connection, more responsibility. Because at some point you're going to outshine everyone else in her life, that even when you make mistakes, it's still worse off for her to leave you. And that's when you can evolve together because you don't lose her for being yourself. But up until that point, it's a game. That means it has a strategy like chess. That means if you start to freestyle it against somebody that has more experience, you may find yourself not able to get that upper hand that's needed to lead a relationship because you are the lead. Remember, you put your feelings aside, you go for what's in logical, what's in your reason, what's vision, and you hold that as a value. It would sound so weird, a girl talking like that. And some girls do, and then they don't act like what they're talking about. That they only say that to the guys they're trying to prove how together they are. So Let's see there. Boundaries and respect. If she comes back, it'll be with the respect for my boundary. If she doesn't, I respected my boundary. If I don't respect my boundary and things resolve with her, I feel bad about myself because I didn't respect my boundary. I may adjust my boundary with wisdom. Maybe that's not a right boundary. But as my teacher taught me long ago, I would rather be certain and be wrong than be uncertain and be right. Because that's a bad habit, to be uncertain. So if I get the math problem right for the wrong reason, don't count on me. Don't invest your money with me if I got it right for the wrong reasons. If I got lucky, as they say. Maybe there's no such thing as luck, but if I don't know how I did it, well, I think life is there's an artistic, aesthetic quality that can be appreciated. That's outside of the strategy of life, but the game of life is cause and effect, and so that means if it's not going the way I want, I haven't adjusted the right variables on the cause side of the equation for everything that I want in life. That's all it is. It's finding the equations. You got to be able to read the symbols and know how to do the math. But then appreciate the beauty of it. That's a different thing. So I'm not saying there's not that, It's almost like I would see the difference between the person who's, let's say, a bohemian and he travels all over the country and he's he's one of these van life guys. And, he's just always getting away from society because society it suppresses people and so negative, conditions people, and you can't be free. So he's free and smelly on the road, and he travels and he goes to Lake Tahoe and he climbs a big mountain, and what a view. Oh, so much beauty to appreciate. And then there's the guy that made a business for himself, helping people, and people come to him, and every dollar he made was helping people improve in whatever it is that he had that skill and they paid him for, but it was improving people. And not just vlogging about vanning, but improving people. And he organized his life and he took care of his responsibilities. And along the way, he was able to include in his business and life of helping people a trip to Lake Tahoe, where he climbed the same mountain and got to the top, and he looked out, and what a view. And so there's the beauty that's appreciated from the escape artist and the beauty that's appreciated from the responsible alpha male. And it's the same beauty, it's the same universe we're looking at. But I could take a picture through a $6,000 Nikon, or I could take a picture through, an old Polaroid. And, the technology of what I'm perceiving through will affect the product. The mind and how it's filled is the tech. The person that's a vanner traveling around the country, it's his mind that is acting that out. He has ideas and beliefs that are acting out in the physical world. And the person that takes responsibility for his life and does what he has to do to whatever his ethics are. And that's, it shows in his actions. That's his mind also. That's the difference. Like, we turned 18, like I said in the beginning, and it's like we were conditioned how to be, never given a chance to relax into our own self and figure it out and find our inner wisdom. Most of us, probably not all of us, most all of us. And then we're plopped at 18 and said, now you're responsible for yourself. And right then, we're responsible for our mind is what we're responsible for, but we didn't design our mind. It was given to us. And for me, at 25 to 27, I began to wake up to my life. That, through all these experiences, I'm living out my mind. That's not me. How long until I discover this? And then the practice of remembering it, because You forget. You get so involved in life. The dramas of life, the emotions trap you into the mind. It pulls you in. You know? So boundaries and respect. Are there any questions or comments on that before I wrap it up? Tie it up like a nice bow. Give it to you as a gift in the present. Anything comes to mind? Anybody on Telegram or, Clubhouse? Thumbs up on Zoom. No? Okay. See, these are like my video blogs. This is basically how AZD does his video blogs, except I do it live. So we have, not including myself, 5 people on Zoom, 3 people on Instagram, 3 people on Clubhouse. So was that add up to 11? And 1 person on YouTube. So 12 people live. That it's my honor to keep your attention for that long, because I think I know each of you personally. There's 1 or 2 of you that maybe I haven't had like a phone conversation with. Everybody else, most of the rest of you I've met in person. And, what can I teach you? I can just say my story and my discoveries and my discernments. I have discovered that how I treat my body is how I treat other bodies. How I treat everybody. I have discovered that how I talk to myself is how I talk to others. Maybe slightly more censored. A little bit of a filter on it. Not quite as rough. I think we're getting less rough with each other. We're talking to ourselves how our parents and upbringers brought us up. So having a system to have space to listen to yourself without diving into the downward deep dark spiral of it, because you get lost in the conversation. You ever do a 3-hour conversation with somebody and you feel drained afterwards, and it seemed like it was a good conversation when it was happening, but you feel drained afterwards and you don't even really remember what was the point of that? That's going inwards, trying to listen to your mind. It's not going to go anywhere good. The thing to do is do your discipline, have a discipline that you do, catch when the mind is talking to yourself. You'll naturally recognize patterns where when you say certain things, it pulls your emotions. Whoa, that's like an anchor. That's like a key to my mind. I should know that maybe. Or you'll catch how an attitude has been persisting because you've been saying something to yourself. And when you catch that you're saying it to yourself, the attitude drops. It's amazing. It's amazing. When you don't know it, it's affecting your mood. As soon as you look at it, it's like hypnosis. The person is doing it when I touch my tie and you start to feel hot, because under hypnosis, I said, every time I touch my tie, you'll feel hot. They don't know it. They don't know it. But show them a tape of themselves being hypnotized on that thing, because it's recorded in their mind. They start to recognize, and then touch your tie in front of them, and they recognize, and when they see it, that's when you can drop the chain. We're hypnotized into our identities, and our identities have chained us into our destinies. Because it's habit, where you're going to get just cause and effect, what you do. Right? So we need a system to look at ourselves as, quote, objectively as possible, to just see, like an alien observing yourself, what the fuck are you doing? And then 10 seconds later, what the fuck are you doing? And then 10 seconds later, hey. All right. Then I saw a hand. What's up, brother?
Yes, sir. It's all about catching patterns.
I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Does everybody else hear him? Yeah. Let me unplug this and plug it back in. Troy Story, what's up, bro? Troy Olvera. Check my speaker. Continue recording. Okay. Do you hear me? Is it sound okay? It's the good
This
mic?
sounds fine. You hear me?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Let me hear if I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I don't hear you. That's weird. This has never happened on my computer. Let me see. Select a speaker. Let me try doing that. Okay, now try it.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Yes, sir. I was just saying earlier, it's all about catching patterns, and if your mind's all clouded, you're not going to see that, and I tell people all the time, pick your style of meditation. It could be yoga, it could be sitting meditation, working meditation, whatever it takes to fast your mind from the clutter, to calm it down. Because I remember whenever I have a bad day, it's accumulated off of little things. And then if you ain't go out, be like, it's one of those days. It's going to keep building up. When you catch it in time, that's what I did a couple months ago. Just one bad thing happened after the other. Then I sat in my car. I told myself, nope. And then I had one of the best Saturdays of my life just for catching that. Any other day, I'll probably have road rage, or something bad. And that's not good. So thank you for sharing this, sir.
What was it that you caught?
It was the sequence of little things adding up. That was a bad day. And I was like, shit, it's going to be one of those days. So I sat in my car, closed the door, and I sat there. I told myself no. And I started reversing it because I caught it in time.
Man, powerful. Yeah, and that command, and I'm getting better at this thing. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and it's amazing how much we project on other people. We assume if we're good at something, they're good at that, and it's so often not the case, right? So you might be surprised what my weaknesses are. I'm a pretty good actor. I hide it. So, but I've begun to realize the runaway thought, the snowball effect of thought, and man, I'm talking and my addiction to that negative emotion. Wow, so weird that it's like just because of the intensity of it, it feels like life, even though it's a negative thing. It's so weird. So rewiring, it's almost like picking at a hangnail or a whatever, just, doing something weird like that. It's like indulging in that negative feeling of like doubt, or like we said at the beginning, Tony said, like, how dare you, what did he say? How dare you make me look bad? And then adding on to that, how dare you make me look bad to myself? Because that's the splinter that we keep picking at, or the bruise we kept pressing at, is we start indulging in our negative perspectives that are creating negative feelings. And it's just as simple as intervene. No, fuck that thought. What do I want? And snowball in that direction and create that new, and then it's going to be 7 years of discipline to create that pattern. And who knows? And then new levels. Thank you. Then, guys, we have a bunch of people on. It would be not right if I didn't announce we have 2 Beast Camps coming up. We have Code Dracula. That's immortal seduction. You can imagine if you were an immortal being and you were going to have a relationship, you probably wouldn't fall for simple tricks. You would learn to appreciate authenticity and recognize it on a deeper level. You would learn to establish boundaries much sooner in your interactions with people because you have so much experience, because you've lived forever. So you see bullshit early on. It's not your pop psychology dating counseling. It's longevity here. So immortal seduction, that's coming up in just like 5 days. So that's really exciting. And then the week after that is Beast Phase 1. So if you haven't done a Beast Camp that involves the level 1 beasting, it's a less pricey event because it's been done before, really. But it's never been done like this before. But it's there for all the guys in Lions Den or anybody that's interested. Like, we're talking about this discipline and having a daily routine. My contribution, I intend to go through the main calisthenic exercises, which are basically push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats. And if I just did that, and I'm going to show you what I know on muscle engagement and alignment so that you can just stack on a skyscraper once you get the alignment right. And then whatever else, I'll have like a 2 or 3 hour segment, I think. So that's Beast Level 1. That's the following weekend. That's the last weekend in the month. So either of those, you could ask questions now or send me a message afterwards. Is there anything else you guys would want to share? And then I'll give it a nice bow here at the end. Anybody on Clubhouse either? Alec, you unmuting there? No, just teasing.
No, brother.
No? All right. That's how you do applause in Clubhouse. There's no like applause thing. So you just like mute, unmute real fast. And that's how like they applause in it.
Yeah, I got something.
Yeah, what's up, Tony K?
How do I get accepted in Clubhouse?
Man, it's a secret. It's like Illuminati shit. Will Rios would know more than me. I don't know how I got accepted. I don't know.
Okay, I heard you have to get like a personal invite.
I know. I sent you an invite. It says pending on my profile. It says pending invite from Tony K. So go back to the text messages from me. Maybe there's a link there, and you click that.
Well, I got a new number, so maybe that's why. I'll text you my new number.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send you a new number.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Thank you. And the whole when I share myself, when I have a long conversation with someone for like 2 hours, and I feel like emotionally drained, I felt like that with TM. Even though it was a great conversation, it's like I felt like I've known him for years, and we shared so much. And was it just because I got so like excited or into the conversation that I just felt like I had to take a nap afterwards?
The conversation with who?
TM or Vin, the guy below me, VINH.
Yeah, my conversation with Vin.
No, I had a conversation with him a couple days ago. Like it was the first time we spoke, and we went for like almost 2 hours, and it was like holy shit. And I was like, oh my god, like, and I've been meeting some very interesting people lately. Sometimes my brain will start tingling, like certain sides of my brain.
Yes, that happens.
I get chills. Mm-hmm. I'm getting chills right now just talking about it.
Good, because that's new connections. That's new neural synapses being built. So yeah, that's great.
Good.
Yeah, in conversations, learning to leave a little bit of want for more so that you look forward to the next one. And just knowledge of cause and effect. This is what makes relationships thrive. I'll have to correct what you wrote, Kat, because so I'm not saying it's important to set boundaries and not change yourself for the other person, because that's how you really evolve. How a woman evolves is different. A woman evolves by changing for the man. The man shouldn't change unless he wants to change, and then he should stay within his power, meaning not feel less about himself for changing. It should make sense to him. If he changes himself to get the girl, that's called abasing himself. When he lowers himself to get the girl, that's abasing himself. That means she's the prize. That's not good. But if he logically sees maybe the error of his way, or this isn't going the way I wanted, I'm willing to do it this way. Like if it makes sense to him, and I'm not saying that he needs to explain it to somebody, but it should make sense, then he can change. How you evolve in the relationship, I'm saying, is you must attract and seduce a woman deep enough into a relationship with you that when you do err, you do make mistake that's genuinely an error on the man, the leader's part, she's less likely to go away because she's invested so much in you. It's worse off for her to go and find somebody better just because you erred so bad. You got too aggressive, not hitting her or anything, but you yelled some obscenities, or you said something that really hurt her, or whatever. You were late, whatever the fuck it happened to her. And you want that, because up until then, if you fuck up and you don't have the leverage in her emotional circuitry, in her heart and mind, then she may leave, and then you lose that investment that you're trying to build something with her. So you must play the strategy correctly to get to that point. Now, is that lying? I don't know. Is it lying for her to wear makeup and a push-up bra and shave her legs and present herself in a way always soft and seductive? Is that really how she is all the time? No, she's being away with me, and I'll be away with her. And it will come from a position of, I know what I'm doing, and I either do or I don't. But I'm going to act like I do, and if it doesn't work out for me, then I'll suffer the pain of that. But I won't suffer the pain of abasing myself. And if it does work out, then I'm in my power. And what will happen is you'll get to the point where you pretty much don't trigger girls too much, unless it's on a value that you want them to fucking repel away like a magnet, then that's fine. But you'll get to the point, like what I'm talking about is losing the girl, but you didn't mean to lose her. You went too hard, and then she didn't come back, and you demonstrated too much low value or something. She didn't come back. At least not right away. She'll always come back if you just keep raising your value. It's always easier, guys, for a girl to go back to somebody that she's been with before. It's way safer. Just keep raising your value. Every girl in your life is going to come back to you. Every single one. Even the married ones. Unless, it's going to be rare. They're all going to come back to you. I'm telling you. They don't tell us this. Just keep raising your value. And a lot of your value is knowledge of cause and effect. If you know how to navigate the world, you can operate with confidence, and that's what she wants. You can have confidence because you have $1 billion and you can handle any situation, or confidence that you're experienced and you can handle any situation. Right? So what I'm saying is the evolution then comes when she doesn't leave, because emotionally she can't leave. It wouldn't be right just because you did her wrong, because you have leverage in the relationship. Now she sticks around. You have time to change, grow, and evolve and remedy the error, which raises her up. To do that, you must have that leverage over her and be much better than the guys around in her environment, in whatever choices she has. So how you grow in a relationship is you gain this leverage over a woman that is lower value than you, and she pair bonds and gets a man to feel emotions about her who is higher value than her. She's seeking a higher value man to emotionally be somewhat under her influence. And it's, I'm making a very basic archetype here. Obviously, characteristics, attributes, things that she likes about him. We can go down to the basic game of attraction switches, whatever. We can just say that they vibe. They actually get along. But she wants to get along with a higher value man. And then she wants him to feel emotions for her that will influence his decisions in life, that he'll consider her. And what he wants is he wants leverage over her, that when he says, do this, do that, cut him out, say this, he wants leverage so that later, if he makes a mistake, when she recognizes he made a mistake, she doesn't leave because he has too much leverage. Because if she does, she takes the goodness that he gave her to another man, to the rest of her life, really. And he suffers the loss of time and investment in that woman. The heartache of that loss diminishes his power to whoever else that he's leading or in charge of. If it doesn't diminish his power and it doesn't affect him when she leaves, then she didn't get what she wanted, which was to emotionally affect him. That's why it's an opposite strategy. So you're playing this balance. I'm all about my business. I won't let you emotionally affect me, but I'll gradually give you some emotions because I know that's what you want and that's what you need. Then come to find out years later of daily whittling away at you, she actually has a hold of some of your emotions. That when she leaves or does against what you want, you uncontrollably feel some things. That would be like doing the wrong movement in yoga, but you found a right way to do it, but you're compromising it, but it doesn't feel that bad. It's just always clicks, It's kind of an intense stretch, really. Only to come to find out you overstretched the connective tissue and you wore down the cartilage, and now you've gone too far, too long on it. Now you got to do a bunch of restoration and recovery. That's what would happen in the relationship when the boundaries have been shuffled in such a way through daily imposing of frames and conversation that you're now compromised. Now you're emotionally moved by her in a way that would pull you off of your vision and your dedication to your purpose. How do you avoid this? One is daily discipline to introspect yourself. 2, to be talking to multiple women. Why that does it? We could go into the science of it, but that's a totally different subject. I feel like I could talk forever. I like the audience. I feel like it's kind of like the conversation with Tony. Maybe that's how Tony was. He was subliminally telling me your podcast is too long, Chris. I remember. No, now I get it. That's so clever. That's so clever. Next time, just send me a message because I'm not going to get it.
Dude, but the thing is, I could go on forever. It's like I'm getting tired, but I was like, I can't stop. I was like, but it's good though. It's like good and bad, but we're going to find a. But the thing is, if people wanted to go, they could go, but they're still here.
That's true. But we're trying to make the recordings do well on YouTube, and the apprentices, they tell me that the recording should be shorter. So I'm going to end it. Everybody, thank you. The Silent Flute lectures are on Mondays. If you're interested in personal private training with me and my group on yoga and methodologies of what I do, then that's the Silent Flute. It's $77 a month. We got 2 Beast camps coming up. One is Code Dracula. One is Beast Phase 1. So hit me up about that. Like, follow, and share this recording. Thanks, everyone, for arriving. Os. Namaste.